When I had a daughter and she was born, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, and this was like I had barely scratched the surface at like what was going on with us personally or with me personally. But when I had her, I just remember thinking like, I need to figure this out because like I do not want her to feel the way I felt. Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Suzanne.
Today we are talking about how when you have a strong identity, it can feel like something is wrong with you.
So true.
I know. And so you and I have talked a ton about identity. And for the listeners, we're going to definitely have way more episodes on identity, but it's like who you really are as a person. Like, who are you? Like, what matters to you? What's important to you and all of that. And I think for me, it's been really important because I did not grow up with an identity that my daughter have a strong identity. And so I've always spoke that into her. She's very different than me, but she's a lot like me in other ways. And so I've always really taken a special interest in developing that in her. And one of the things
I
that
just
can be
stop you and just say, good on you. Like the fact that you know,
you scared me. I was like,
sorry, that identity is so important. And then you're starting with someone so young because look at us, like how old we are now trying to figure it out.
No identity
and trying to figure these things out. And
yes.
So I love that for you. And I love that she is already finding her identity at such a young teenage age.
Yes. And so while that's wonderful, the episode is really about how that can also be really hard. And so one of the things that can show up as really hard in women, especially, but teens is when, social is really important. And when you have a strong identity, it just changes the way you show up in the world. And so it affects people around you. And so one of the things she's really struggled with is groups of girls. Because if you have a teen daughter or even a middle school daughter, or even honestly in elementary school, they travel in packs. Okay. These are like wolf packs. And you're either in or you're out of the group. And the other thing is like all the girls do the same thing. They all dress the same. If one person likes to go to this movie, like they all have to go to the movie. If they want to play a sport, like they all play the same sport. Like it's just this, everybody has to do, it's just this huge mimicking thing, which, wolf packs. And then on top of that, they don't really know who they are or what they like. They just want to be included, right? Because that's important to them. And I believe the reason it's so important to them is one, because socially nobody wants to be left out. But two, I think moms inadvertently tell them like, you need to have friends and I know you don't want to go over to so-and-so's house, but like, you should just go. And while some of it can be encouraging, it can also go over the top and it just becomes this like extra need inside of them to be included versus a need to figure out who they are. And because I have like drilled into my daughter's head that it is more important who you are as a person and who you show up in the world as than it is like how many friends you have. You need friends, because we all need friends. But like you're going to have less friends. But it's been a real struggle lately. I mean, she's had like sort of like ups and downs. But, she's had very good friends ditch her in order to fit in. So people she really got close to got in a situation where they cared more about fitting in with the group than they did about being her friend.
Yes.
I know. And you know what? You like can't blame the kids because they're all just trying to figure it out, right? Like there's no blame. It's just, it is what it is right now, right? And just going through that with her has been so hard because it's heartbreaking. But also so empowering because we talk through it all. And so one of the things I have had to say to her is like, listen, you have a really strong identity. And she knows what that means. And I said, it repels people who are insecure and don't have identity.
Who repels?
It does, because she'll say, because we've talked about,
rough word.
I know, because she's like, well, this person's really confident and they attract people. And I'll say, okay, well, let's talk about their confidence. Like, why are they confident? And then guess what? Their confidence is not real confidence. It's insecure confidence. They're overconfident. Sure. But that's just how they attract friends. And then she'll talk about like, well, all the girls are going to a party and I wasn't invited. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, they're all concerned with who's doing what every night. And they're always all talking because nobody wants to be left out of anything. And you're like, I had a long week. I'm just like shutting off my phone tonight. And I'm just going to focus on me and put a mask on and watch a show and eat popcorn. And what you don't realize is like the other girls aren't doing that. Like, I know it for a fact because they're worried about what everybody else is doing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then they view that as, oh, well, she doesn't care or she doesn't want to be part of our group, which that's not it at all. It's just you are so secure in yourself that you're fine to have, when you need downtime and you take it. And when you want to be social and you reach out and try to hang out. But like in this time of everyone like clamoring to be like part of the crew and do all the things and not be left out, like all of their energy is going into making sure that happens for themselves, because that's what gives them joy and feeling good about themselves. And like, essentially that's their identity.
Security, for sure.
Yeah.
So how have you developed that? I mean, I think it's pretty rare for a teenage girl to have identity, to know that she needs to stay home because she's tired and had a long week and wants to put on a mask and hang out, and still has a ton of friends.
She does.
Very much understands herself, plays sports, artistic, like she has all the things. So what is it that you think you've done differently to instill that identity in her?
Gosh, I think wasn't expecting that question. I was like, aren't we going to talk about how hard this is for me?
We're the hard-hitting questions here at Oops, I Healed Again.
I was like, okay. Because of the way we grew up and didn't have identities, it became very clear to me that the reason you and I struggled so much, and so is unneedingly a word. We both know I make up words, but needlessly.
I believe that's needlessly,
okay,
yes.
Okay, all right. I make up my words. Because of that, when I had a daughter and she was born, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, and this was like, I had barely scratched the surface at like what was going on with us personally, or with me personally. But when I had her, I just remember thinking like, I need to figure this out, because like, I do not want her to feel the way I felt.
I'm going to pause you there, because you've spoken a lot about identity. And I think for our friend listening, when you say I didn't have an identity, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? So when you were in high school, what did high school look like for you versus what it looks like for your daughter?
I was just wanting to fit in and wanting to be, it's not to say I didn't have real relationships. I'm not saying that. But it was very focused on making sure, like, I always just wanted connection. I was seeking connection, like everywhere, like to have friends, to be invited to the things, to have a boyfriend, to just feel like needed and wanted. Yeah. If I'm being super honest.
Yeah.
And to have people like choose me. That's what I was seeking, is for people to choose me and love me and need me and have connection with me. I wasn't seeking like, who are my people? This is what I'm all about. I want to find my people. And that's like the most basic way I can explain it, because now in adulthood.
Pick me.
Yeah.
Pick me.
Girl. That's what they call it.
Your identity.
Girl.
Yeah, I'll do whatever
that was my identity.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about what I wanted or what I wanted to do or who I was, or it literally was nothing about that. It was everything about like, well, if they're into this, maybe I should be into that. And if they wear this, not like, what do I like to wear? Where do I want to go? It was, what is everybody else doing?
Yeah.
And it leads you like, like, we're always so visual. I'm like, I feel like you're just like a buoy, just like there's no anchor. Like you're just floating in the ocean. And it's not to say like I had a, bad high school or like I wouldn't go back and say that like everything sucked or whatever without my identity. But especially as you get like, it's very okay and considered like normal in high school to not have an identity and even pretty much into college. But then all of a sudden you're in the real world and like, you don't have big groups of people that you just hang out with because y'all go to the same school, like all of a sudden you're like, well, who are my people and who am I? And you just sort of have this, like, they call it like the quarter life crisis for a reason.
Because identity crisis. Like, wait,
I'm totally, because it's an identity crisis, but they don't call it that. They're just like, oh, people freak out when they're 25. Hello?
Yeah.
Knock, knock. Hello?
Yeah. So, and you have such a smaller pool at that point in time. Like you said, you don't have the big groups anymore. So now you're trying to pursue what you like, but you wonder to yourself, wait, what do I like? And so I just want to make sure that our friends understood what identity was. And so what you're describing as I think also what's in your daughter's groups that she's seeing is exactly who you were.
100%.
At this point in time, you don't want her to be that. And so what you want to have her ask herself is, well, how do I want to dress? Who do I want to be? And it doesn't mean that she doesn't try things that are in the group or that she doesn't do things of her friends. But what she does do is question herself and actually ask, is this something that I want?
Or is this somebody I want to be really good friends with? Like, it's fine to be acquaintances with people. It's fine to be friendly and have people you do things with, but there's a very different connection that comes from having like a really good friend. And she understands like tiers of friends and like, who you confide in. And she's also, those are hard lessons to learn, right? Because
we're still learning them. I mean, I don't know about you.
I mean, you tell some people and it gets all the way around and you thought she was your best friend, but girlfriend, she's no longer your best friend. And now all those secrets she's going to be using as ammunition and as cash to get into the group.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Sure.
But it's all part of growing up. But I think in my mind, I guess the point of my story is in my mind, when I had this daughter and thought, I'm just going to speak into her and she's going to know her identity. And I just like thought I was crushing it. And the reality is, I think I am. And I think it's going to do her a world of good. And I think it already is. But it comes also at a different kind of cost. And I think that's something that we always forget, that even good things come with sacrifice. Like healing comes with sacrifice. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. But just because you're doing the right thing doesn't mean it's always going to feel good. And having that discussion with her and speaking that into her and talking through like physiologically and psychologically, like what's happening, it's easier for her to hold on to her identity and know that she's in the right place and making the right decisions, even when it feels hard because nobody else is doing it. And I think that's going to give her so much resilience through life because she knows that.
Yeah. And I also think one thing that I would add on to that is by you as mom believing that, truly believing that, and showing her that she can be calm in those situations and that she is resilient. And because it starts with the mom, right? Because you're not going to be able to show your daughter resilience.
Right.
Unless you're willing to have resilience. And once you're looking for your identity and you're helping her with that. And I think that mom piece is a huge part that you are giving her all the credit for doing all these amazing things. And I just wanted to stop and make sure that you gave yourself credit because the daughter you're raising is amazing. And the fact that she has identity. And I know I've used a lot of what you've been teaching her with my kids in terms of teaching them identity, because it's not something that most of us are comfortable with or even aware of. And so to me, like we talk on this podcast, it's all about the discovery and the awareness. And then two, to know there's always what is that choose your hard, right?
Yes,
so they can join the group and just go along, or you can say, look, you can have an identity. You can actually start to choose people that you want to be around and dress the way you want to do. But sometimes they're not going to be real nice about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you're going to be left out, and like, then we go back to the whole let them, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes you are going to be invited, and then it's your choice. Like, hey, you weren't invited the last 3 times. Like, are you okay with that? Because that's the level friend they are. And you're just like, sweet, they invited me this time. Like, I'm going to go. Or I just feel like we're able to talk about it. And there's some emotion to it, but like taking out the whole victimhood, like she's not a victim, they're not victims, like nobody's a victim, nobody's, I'm not like, oh, well, screw her, we're not, she's horrible, she's a bad girl, like there's none of that. So she doesn't even feel the need to say any of that. So she doesn't have a whole diatribe.
I was going to say the whole like commentary running in her head, but also I think what you're telling me is that's not our
conversation.
She has choices. She feels empowered to make different choices. And I mean, for anyone that is a mother, what more great gift can you give to your child than feel empowered and feel like we all say, like those people that just have that amazing, it looks like they just have that amazing true confidence, and they're just them. They're authentically them. And if you can gift that to your teenage daughter or son, I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger gift than that.
I agree. I think that's like the biggest inheritance. Like, I think that we always think about inheritance as like money, but honestly, emotional regulation, teaching your kids to have an identity, teaching your kids to have a purpose, like that is an inheritance that will carry them a lot longer than any amount of money you leave them.
Yeah. Well, then they can make their own money.
And for people that don't know, I'm very passionate about this. And I even have a company called Generational Healing with Jen, Jenn. And I do coaching for moms and daughters, and I'm really passionate about it. So if this episode spoke to you, definitely come check me out, and we'll have all the stuff in the show notes. And obviously we'll have a lot more stories about my daughter on here.
And identity, because we're all still working on our identity around
just
here.
Get real settled in with identity.
For sure.
My takeaways really were that what I'm saying is sinking in. Like it's working, as we like to say, it's working. And I'm just so thankful that she's going to have a very different experience and a very different life than me. Like, I feel like I'm watching it real time. I'm fast forwarding her through, like, at least for me, 40-ish years of struggle and not knowing why I was struggling.
Yeah.
And to be able to give that inheritance to her is like, it's working.
I love that,
it's
by
amazing.
the way, the inheritance.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That feels
Stole
good.
that from church this weekend.
I love it. And so to our listener out there, does your child have a strong identity, or are they always striving to fit in? Because I think as moms, we're constantly looking and thinking to ourselves, we're watching, trying to figure it out. And sometimes it's hard to decide. So take a look and let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you guys. Come see us on Instagram. Check out Jen's new business, Generational Healing. And that's it for today.
I hope you enjoyed something in my little story.
See you next time. Same place, same sisterhood. Bye.
Bye.